Well, now that I'm all prepared, happy Labor Day, everyone. In case you're wondering what we're listening to, it's Hollywood Undead, and the song is called Fuck the World. Yes, I'm not going to excuse my potty mouth for that, because that's the title of the song, so. I'm drinking the blood of my fallen enemies today. It's Powerade. We're on Chapter 7, and it's Monday, and it's Labor Day, so happy Labor Day. And happy Monday. There's such thing as a happy Monday. I just saw my kitty. Anyway, we're on Chapter 7. Really, don't bring your kids. Don't bring your kids. It's not kid-friendly. I mean, there's no sex scenes. There's no curse words. But there aren't mentions of torture. Or see no more of torture. Mentions of torture. Slaughter of angels by another angel. Introduction to 3 new characters who I have to add on the creep factor. Well, not really creep factor, but fright factor, because they're definitely not people you want to meet in the middle of the night or any time of day, night, afternoon, whatever. And you do eventually read about the escape of Eden's prison. Now, this chapter isn't really violent per se, but it is a chapter with a mention of violence. I should say mention of violence being torture. So there's a mention of torture in this chapter. So continue at your own risk. It's Monday. We're on Chapter 7 of Reaper Adventures Imprisonment. I actually didn't say that as cheerfully as I usually do. So, I might be getting the hang of that. Anyway, let's continue. Let us continue. Chapter 7. Pain studied the demon in his cell as Pain ate the fruits that had been given to him to eat. Fruits and water. Pain was tired of fruit and water. It had been a while since they had been captured. The demon, on occasion, still ate Pain's despair, fear, and everything else that he ate. This is Ivan Torrent, The Power of Will. Actually, it's a pretty good one. So, yeah. Anyway, continuing. Pain had decided not to ask what had happened when the demon had nearly died. By died being burnt away in hellfire that is within them. Yeah, fun. The demon hadn't taken too kindly to that question when Pain had asked in the first place. Yeah, I don't think I would either. Hey, do you guys not have animals? I require a dead animal. More than you obviously think. Pain stated, glaring at the remainder of fruit on his plate. Actually, I mean, there's substitutes for protein that you can get from fruits and vegetables, but a lot of the time the protein does come from animals. A lot, if you are not vegetarian or vegan. I'm not bashing them, because actually that's pretty cool that they do that. Continuing. Pain stated, glaring at the remainder of fruit on his plate. The angel outside of his door ignored Pain. Pain sighed with irritation. He wondered if they actually cared about the lack of protein he was more than likely getting. Protein, never heard of it? Pain inquired, getting his expected reaction, which was no reaction or response. Dead animals provide protein that I'm not getting, Pain continued, fully expecting what he normally got. He wasn't expecting Princess Ariel of the Angelic Order to place a cooked steak on his plate. Oh my god, steak, that sounds so good. I love steak. Pain blinked and looked at Princess Ariel of the Angelic Order with confusion. I was informed of your growing distaste of the fruit we provide for you, and that you more than likely would require meat. Princess Ariel of the Angelic Order explained, I'm not in my normal spinny chair, so. Anyway, continuing. Pain watched as she politely dismissed herself. Thanks, Pain belatedly said, and then began to eat the provided steak. He practically inhaled the steak, and the Keeper of Peace Nile, along with the demon, wondered if normal human mouths were that strong to begin with. Yeah, I think that would be something that would be questionable, because sometimes we do have strong mouths when we actually eat, and people don't realize that, but our jaws have a lot stronger of a bite than we even think they do. They're not as strong as most animals, but they're still pretty fucking strong. Forgive my potty mouth. Continuing. Payne wondered if he could clean his hands, realized that there were no napkins, and reluctantly wiped his hands on his black jeans, giving a soft sound of disgust when he noticed just how dirty his clothes actually were. I mean, he doesn't really take baths unless it requires to wash the dried blood off of him, and his clothes would be all grimy because he can't really change them. Anyway, moving on. Payne began to think about the last time he had actually bathed when it wasn't required to wash the dried blood from his body. I think that's the mention of torture. Anyway. He realized with some disappointment that he didn't actually remember. Payne glanced at the angel outside of the demon's cell and wondered if he would be able to request a bath, just to enjoy the hot water. He doubted it and looked at the floor of his cell with a sigh. Is there something wrong, Nephilim? The angel cautiously asked Payne. He sounded genuinely concerned, which caught Payne off guard. Payne considered his response, debating if telling the angel, who had been responsible for torturing him on more than one occasion, what was on his mind. Nothing you can help me with, Payne replied softly as he looked away from the angel's turquoise eyes. The Keeper of Peace Nile studied the Nephilim, who had risen to a stand and watched as the Nephilim went to the horrible excuse for a bed, lay down, and reluctantly drift into unwanted sleep. His sister, the Keeper of Peace Anala, studied her brother with an indifferent gaze. She couldn't dismiss the feeling of unease in her gut that her brother was beginning to grow attached to the prisoners they were watching. That wouldn't be very good. I mean, they're prisoners you're watching. You can't really get attached to them if they're prisoners you're watching. Moving on. The Keeper of Peace Nile turned his attention to the approaching figure. It was the Archangel Raphael. The Nephilim had been tortured again, and the Archangel Raphael was making sure the Nephilim's wounds had healed properly, as they seemingly always did. Oh shit, sorry, I didn't realize my camera was tilted. Moving on. The Archangel Raphael spared a glance for the demon before the Keeper of Peace Anala permitted the Archangel Raphael to enter the Nephilim's cell. Did a lot of writing recently, so I'm going to have to hold this in the other hand. Moving on. The Archangel Raphael was silent as he inspected the Nephilim's wounds. They had healed without any trace that they had even been there. The only scars that had been inflicted were the ones from the demon's fangs on the Nephilim's wrist. Even they had faded to thin traces that were paler lines crisscrossing the pale skin on his wrist. Nothing more than that. No longer the angry, rapidly healing red and pink wounds and welts. The Archangel Raphael studied the bracelet the Nephilim seemed to always wear and continued to inspect the Nephilim's wounds when he felt the watchful gaze of the Keeper of Peace, Anala. Blood of my fallen enemies. Power aid. I already said that, but still. Moving on. The Archangel Raphael hoped that no one had made the connection between his similarities in appearance with the Nephilim of being the Nephilim's father. Because that would suck. On both ends. He knew his luck was going to run out, though, when it came to that fact. He hoped his brother, the Archangel Michael, had been able to convince the Archangel Azrael, the first Reaper and Angel of Death, gatekeeper of the spirit realm, to at least speak with his younger brother, the Archangel Michael. That's a very, very long title. Anyway. The Nephilim stirred slightly, and the Archangel Raphael had to force himself not to run a hand through the Nephilim's short, jet-black hair to attempt to reassure him. The Nephilim didn't wake, though, and the Archangel Raphael finished inspecting where the wounds had once been. The Archangel Raphael left the Nephilim's cell and gave his report to Princess Ariel of the Angelic Order, who had arrived just as the Archangel Raphael left the Nephilim's cell. She nodded, and the Archangel Raphael politely dismissed himself, feeling the gaze of Princess Ariel of the Angelic Order carefully studying him as he walked away. The Archangel Raphael knew then that his luck with the other members of the angelic order about the similar appearance the Nephilim had to him was now beginning to run out. Ba-ba-ba. It would now only be a matter of time before one of them brought their suspicion of his similarities to the Nephilim to the creators. The Archangel Raphael entered his residence, clinging to the desperate hope that he had misinterpreted Princess Ariel of the Angelic Order's lingering and thoughtful gaze in Eden's prison. He doubted he had, and the hope vanished, giving way to mild panic. I think I'd be panicking slightly too. I mean, considering... But I have to continue for that to be explained, so we will move on. The Archangel Raphael remembered all too well what had been ordered of him when the former Seal Master Nathaniel had been discovered with a Nephilim child. The Archangel Raphael had no choice but to eliminate the former Seal Master Nathaniel's young son, his wife, along with the unborn Nephilim she had been with. This is a good song. It's called Can't Go to Hell, but I don't know who sings it. So, actually kind of fitting. Anyway, along with the unborn Nephilim she had been with. The Archangel Raphael had then sewn the former Seal Master Nathaniel's eyes permanently shut, sparing the former Seal Master Nathaniel from bleeding from the eyes that would have been burned from his skull by the creators. Yes, they would do that. I'm assuming that is something they would do. I don't know if it's true that they do that, but in here they would do that. So, the Archangel Raphael knew his fate would be just as horrible as the fate of the former Seal Master Nathaniel's had been. Something tickled at the memories of the Archangel Raphael, and the mild panic slowly evaporated, replaced with a pensiveness that there was something familiar about the other captive, the demonic prisoner. It began to tug at his mind, and the Archangel Raphael wondered if his youngest brother, the Archangel Gabriel, would know something about the demon inside of Eden's prison. Excuse me, I have to take a Blood of My Fallen Enemies break. I actually like saying that. As horrible as that is, I like saying that, even though it's just, red drink. Moving on. That depends on what you want to know. The Archangel Gabriel's voice stated behind the Archangel Raphael. Whew, I nearly messed up on that one. The Archangel Raphael's wings twitched slightly, and he looked at the opening that was where a door would be, because this is Eden. They don't really have doors. They just kind of have really pretty elven-like structures. If you think of elves as having all openings and archways and beauty, that's what that looks like. Yeah. Archangel Gabriel, you startled me. The Archangel Raphael commented with relief. My apologies, brother. I did not mean to, the Archangel Gabriel said with an apologetic expression. I heard you think my name, he explained as the Archangel Raphael silently invited him inside his home. I should have guessed you would be listening. The Archangel Raphael sighed, and then the Archangel Gabriel's statement before the apology sank in. He looked at his youngest brother, who was currently examining the scenery from what was considered a window. What do you know of the demon? The Archangel Raphael questioned as the Archangel Gabriel shifted his attention from the scenery to his brother, the Archangel Raphael. Holy crow, that's a lot. Anyway, we're just going to continue before I think about that too much. The Archangel Gabriel was silent, patiently waiting for the Archangel Raphael to clarify what information he specifically desired. The Archangel Raphael slowly realized why his brother was not answering, and saw when the Archangel Gabriel noticed the shift in his expression. Why does the demon seem familiar? The Archangel Raphael asked, hoping he had given the right inquiry. Because if you don't actually ask the right question, you get an answer that's roundabout and even more confusing. So we're going to continue. Not all demons were born demons. Breaking Benjamin danced with the devil. Why is that so fitting? Not all demons were born demons, the Archangel Gabriel replied. I am aware of that. The Archangel Raphael sighed, feeling a slight exasperation. The Archangel Gabriel was silent once more as the Archangel Raphael waited for a further explanation. The Archangel Raphael groaned with mild irritation when he figured out he wasn't going to receive a further explanation. Apparently, the Archangel Gabriel had deemed that no further explanation was required, and the current topic of conversation was over. And wow, we're almost done. That happened a lot faster than even I thought. Anyway, I have good news for you, the Archangel Gabriel commented before the now finished conversation could be continued. Our brother, Archangel Michael, has finally managed to hold a short conversation with our oldest brother, Archangel Azrael, First Reaper and Angel of Death, Gatekeeper of the Spirit Realm. The Archangel Gabriel told the Archangel Raphael. That is a very long name, very long title. I'm just going to continue before I really think about it because it's going to make my mind hurt. The Archangel Raphael was tempted to voice his displeasure about the abrupt halt of the previous topic that had been discussed. However, the Archangel Raphael agreed that the news provided was indeed good news, and it had come not a moment too soon. Now that the Archangel Azrael, First Reaper and Angel of Death, Gatekeeper of the Spirit Realm, had spoken to the Archangel Michael, it would hopefully only be a matter of time before the Archangel Azrael, First Reaper and Angel of Death, Gatekeeper of the Spirit Realm, holy crap, decided to visit. The Archangel Raphael hoped that would be the case. The Archangel Raphael couldn't help but feel the small flutter of hope in his chest. True hope this time. Resurface and fill his heart with a dizzying swell that almost made him sag against the wall of his residence. He forced his knees to not give out as his youngest brother gave a knowing smile. Whew. I gotta take a break now. Freaking blood of my fallen enemies, because that is a very long name. Holy crap. Forgive the potty mouth if you consider that a curse word. We're almost done. We're actually on the last paragraph. So I'm going to continue. The demon may yield information when you are required to tend to his wounds after his session of questioning. More than likely it will prove fruitless, but if you find out what color his eyes are, I will be able to give the information you seek and make sense in the process. Otherwise, anything I provide to that conversation will only serve to confuse you. That's why it was abruptly halted, because it would have just confused him. The Archangel Gabriel stated, and then politely dismissed himself, leaving the Archangel Raphael. Okay, that was the bit of light. I thought it was a pimple. Politely dismissed himself, leaving the Archangel Raphael with more questions than answers at this point in time. And that is the end of Chapter 7. Happy Labor Day once again. Woot woot. We're going to move on to Chapter 8 for next week because, I don't know. Holy crap. That's a lot of long name for the Archangel Azrael. It's a very long name because he's got multiple titles. So, anyway. Excuse me, I burped. I have some accounts if any of you are interested, and if you don't know who this is and you are interested in looking it up, Melanie Martinez. The song is called Mad Hatter. Actually, it's pretty awesome. I like this song. But I have some accounts if any of you are all interested. I have a Wattpad account, which is at Tempesta771. I have a TikTok account, which is at AirdronCraven2. No spaces and no uppercases under the name Tempesta Braveheart. I have an Instagram account, which is under the name Tempesta Braveheart. No uppercases, no spaces, under the name Airdron Craven, which is also my Facebook account. So if you find my Facebook account, which is Airdron Craven, that is the name you can look for my Instagram if you can't find the Tempesta Braveheart. So I also have a Snapchat account. I really am getting good at that. Which is also under Airdron Craven. No spaces, no uppercases, and you're watching my YouTube. which is under the name Tempest Braveheart. Woo-hoo. My brain is scattered. Anyway, that is that. We continue with the Reaper Adventures Imprisonment on Chapter 8 next week, because we just finished Chapter 7. Woohoo! So Chapter 8 next Monday, Chapter 7 complete. Those are the accounts, and yeah. Peace out, Girl Scouts, and enjoy the mental hilarity.